It is that time now to look at the top 5 cards from the upcoming Paldean Fates releasing next week. I'm going to give it to you straight, everyone. This set is a little lackluster for players. There's a lot of reprints, which are also good. So there's that at least. We'll go over some of the highlights of the reprints. But in terms of brand new cards, there aren't so many. So when we get to the top 5, we're going to go, that really made the top 5? But the answer is yes. There's just really not that much to work with in terms of new, interesting cards from this set. But there's some great art, some alternate arts. There's some new secret rares. We'll go off of that to kind of have some fun from this set. So if you're a collector, this set's definitely for you. If you're a player and you like shiny things, you'll enjoy this set. If you're just a player that likes to get some new base rarities, your buy list is going to be real small for this set. But let's jump in. Of course, as always, we're going to start with the art highlights from this set. Art highlights, of course, are the best way to start out any look at a set, because you want to see the cool stuff in the set, right? So we're going to start out looking at the illustration rare Palafin and the special illustration rare Nimona. Now, Nimona is not an especially playable card, but the art is really, really cool with the Pokeball kind of flying in the middle of the card. They kind of did that with all the big special illustration rare trainer cards, including Penny and Arvin. So this is kind of a really cool theme for the set's special illustration rares. And then, of course, the Palafin was just like that really badass, like shiny look. It's like, I'm going to be the super villain instead of the superhero. I really like that art. And then, as if that weren't enough, we have a couple additional special illustration rares for Gardevoir and for Charizard. Now, personally, I have my opinions about which one of these two I prefer, but I would like to hear from you guys. In the comments on this video, please let me know whether you like the Gardevoir art better or the Charizard art better. Remains to be seen which one will win this. Again, I have my thoughts, but I like both of them, to be clear, but there is definitely one I prefer. So in the comments, let me know which one you prefer. I'm not going to say, just to try to mitigate the bias a little bit. Anyway, super cool art of the Gardevoir, super cool art of the Charizard. In the Gardevoir art, we kind of have the Wooper in the background, have a few other Pokemon just kind of lurking in the image there. And then the Charizard's that really crystalline appearance, just also really, really cool. As always, anytime there is an Oddish in the set, we have to look at the Oddish and its line. So we're just going to kind of look real quick at the Oddish from Paldean Fates. These are, of course, the shiny line. So you'll recognize them, or at least you'll recognize their abilities from the 151 set. It's Oddish. We gotta look at it, right? They're there. I'm gonna have to pick up the Oddish at the very least. But yeah, I love me some Oddish. All right, now I talked about earlier how this set is full of reprints. It is. Let's kind of look at some of the more important ones. We have the Toadscroll EX from Obsidian Flames. This Xatu is a reprint. You'll recognize it from its other artwork. It just got some new art for this set. No big deal. And of course, there's Gardevoir from Scarlet and Violet. So each of these cards is being reprinted in Paldean Fates. Additionally, we have Mimikyu from Paldea Evolved, Charizard EX from Obsidian Flames, and Squawkabilly from Paldea Evolved. All these really playable cards, very worth to have in your binder for when you need them for a deck or two. Just worth having on hand. If you don't already have them, Paldean Fates will hopefully make them a little bit cheaper so you can grab them for your collection. Additionally, some trainer cards are getting reprinted, including some like Ino that really need to be reprinted to drop their price a bit. I think Ino is going for like $3 or $4 a pop right now. So hopefully this reprint will bring it down maybe half that, or even less, depending on how popular this set is among collectors. But you do have Artisan, also a very good stadium, and I think it's even better after rotation, frankly. Electric Generator, of course, sees play in Miraidon. We'll probably see some play in other decks at some point. But I know, of course, once again, probably the star on this slide. Just a very, very solid supporter that needs tons and tons of play. Additionally, there is going to be a reprint of Nest Ball. So if you don't have your Nest Balls, or if you need to get some more Nest Balls, this is a good way to do it. Both versions of the Scarlet and Violet Professor's Research, both Sada and Turo, have made the set. And last but not least, Rare Candy and Ultra Ball will also be featured. So good stuff. It's good to get the prices of staple cards down, and this is a good way to do it. People are going to be buying up this set for all the shiny stuff, so they're going to be buying up a bunch of it. They're going to be opening a bunch of it. A lot of people, especially the collectors, will not really care about these trainer cards, which will help bring the price down for players. Excellent way to do it. Honorable mentions for the top 5 here. It's actually an honorable mention, and it's pushing it a little bit because of rotation being so soon, or so near rather. That is Great Tusk EX. Great Tusk EX has an ability called Quaking Destruction. This says if this Pokemon is in the active spot at the end of your turn, discard the top 5 cards of your deck. And then for fighting triple colorless, Great Bash, 260 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So fairly good attack there. The downside on that ability is pretty severe, but it does give you the benefit of being able to attack with a fairly potent attack that you can get powered up fairly quickly because of Professor Sawda's Vitality. So there is that, that trade-off, right? The good thing is, at least for the next couple months, you do have Path of the Peak to shut off the ability. And if it sticks, and against some opponents it will just stick because they're running Path 2, you'll be able to hit them really, really hard without too much concern. Yeah, it's not amazing, and especially with rotation, it's just not playable anymore. But it is an interesting card, and it's worth looking at as an honorable mention. Now, for the actual top 5, the real top 5, if you will, this is where we continue to go into the stuff that's kind of worth having in the binder. At number 5, we have Technical Machine Crisis Punch. The Pokemon this card is attached to can use the attack on this card. You still need the necessary energy to use the attack. If this card is attached to one of your Pokemon, discard it at the end of your turn, and it gives you the attack Crisis Punch, which for 3 energy does 280 damage. You can use this attack only when your opponent has exactly 1 prize card remaining. So if you need to take a big knockout to win the game, but you have something like Cramorant in play, and Cramorant, of course, has the ability that reduces attack costs of the attacks it uses to 0 when you have 4 or more cards in the Lost Zone, you'll be able to slap Crisis Punch on Cramorant and take a big walloping knockout with Crisis Punch. There are, of course, other ways to power this up naturally if you need to, but Crisis Punch is pretty good for stuff like Lost Box to kind of close out games when you're in a real dire strait. At number 4, there is Kilowattrel. Kilowattrel has the attack United Thunder for a single colorless energy. It says this attack does 10 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon for each Pokemon in your discard pile that has the United Wings attack. Don't apply weakness and resistance for benched Pokemon, and then has Speedwing, which does 90 damage for Lightning Double Colorless. Of course, you're going to be playing this primarily for United Thunder. However, it's worth noting that United Wings in general is not especially playable at the moment, kind of doesn't ramp well enough into the meta. And worse still, the damage on United Thunder is kind of limited because it's not only is it only hitting the bench Pokemon, it only ramps to by 10 for each. So typically you're going to be maxing out about 110, which is pretty underwhelming, especially in this meta. That said, it is an option, and in alternate formats that aren't standard, it could still see some play. And maybe if United Wings becomes a competitive deck again, maybe Kilowattrel is a consideration. Also, once Manaphy rotates, it might be a consideration. At number 3, we have Charmeleon with the ability Flare Veil. Prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon. Damage is not an effect. And then you have Combustion, which for 2 fire energy does 50 damage. Now, Charmeleon overall is an interesting card. With Level Ball rotating, it's not as interesting as it would have been. But Flare Veil, if you do have it in play and your opponent snaps away all of your Charizard EXs with Technical Machine Devolution, Charmeleon will be safe from that. Additionally, Flare Veil prevents your opponent's Pokemon from hitting them with damage counters, so Sableye can't target Charmeleon without basically all of those damage counters vanishing into the ether. Charmeleon is certainly a consideration for Charizard EX players. Next up, at number 2, there is a new Frigibax. If you're running a current 70 HP Frigibax in your deck for Chen Pao, this is the one you need to switch to. It is just better. You have Collect, which draws you a card for a single water energy. Beat, which for water colorless does 20 damage. It's very, very simple, but it is an upgrade simply because you have access to Collect. And then finally, the card that everybody's been waiting for forever now, it seems, Moonlit Hill. Moonlit Hill says 1 stringer each player's turn. that player may discard a basic psychic energy from their hand in order to heal 30 damage from each of their Pokemon. It's a simple card, but it does work, and that means the Gardevoir can hit some fairly large numbers with the likes of Screamtail and Drifloon. So it's not over for Gardevoir with rotation, you just gotta have some Moonlit Hill to make it happen. Anyway, that is everything. That's the set. If you think it was a little underwhelming, I agree with you. Paldean Fates is the calm before the storm. Temporal Forces is going to be one heck of a set, and I can hardly wait to bring my top 10 list for that set to you all, but that's going to be a couple of months out from now. If you would like to learn more about Paldean Fates, or Temporal Forces for that matter, you can learn more at justinbasil.com, and as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.